Why is this so dark? It's always something. Hey, how's everybody doing on TikTok? I literally just checked my lighting and it was perfectly fine. I pressed the button to go live and it's dark. All right, so it is what it is. Just because I can predict these problems doesn't mean I know how to fix them. All right, so welcome everybody. We're going to give this a minute for a few people to tune in before we go ahead and get started. And welcome everyone on YouTube, Facebook, and I think we might be on Instagram tonight also. I'm not sure. If you guys could please post, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be helpful before I go ahead and jump in. If you're seeing a mess behind me, I am working on a huge resto project at the moment. So there is just stuff everywhere. So ignore it. Okay, looks good. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to make a couple quick announcements while we let people tune in. So we do have coming up the Psychic Mediumship Course. Okay, for the winter session, you can go ahead and get yourself registered now, or you can get on the early bird waitlist for that. So winter session for the Psychic Mediumship Course begins January 23rd. There are 2 different tiers to learning. So you can either join the 28-week course, which gets you certified. It allows you to work for the Ivy League Psychic Academy, become an assistant teacher. If you want to do that, start working for Ivy League Psychic Fairs, Ivy's Healing Call Center, the monthly walk-in night, virtual psychic fairs, all that good stuff. That's included in tier 2. You'll be working with myself and assistant teachers and learning how to give professional readings to the public. Now, if you choose tier 1, it is a 10-week, 100% downloadable course, and you're not going to get all of those other things. It's just some basic information. But regardless of which tier you join, you can learn at your own pace. The majority of classes, all but 3, are video download. You'll be working with the group still, but you won't be required to attend those classes. Okay, so on your own schedule. We also have my symbology book. Those of you who've been following me for a few years know I talk about symbology all the time. In addition to the 4 hours of training I give my Psychic Mediumship course students, I'm going to be including a ton more in this book called Symbology, and you can get on the early bird waitlist for that, hoping to publish soon. This is going to be Rivera@yahoo.com for that. Okay, I'm also starting up tours throughout the states here in America in November. So I'll be hitting Florida, Georgia, New Orleans, Texas, and on and on and on we go. So if you want to host me for a gig, whatever state you live in, you can do the same thing here. RevIvyRivera@yahoo.com. Just message my assistant and say, you know, I want to host her for something when she is in my town. Then we have Christina Del Reyes, Reverend Christina's The Art of Tarot class up on the website. You go to ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com to get that. Her tarot class gets you certified, which means, again, you can work for Ivy League Psychic Fairs, Ivy's Healing Call Center, and the monthly virtual psychic fair walk-in nights and things like this. Now, the Art of Tarot class is going to train you in the traditional method of reading the cards, but also the intuitive method, which allows you to evolve beyond a tool, the cards themselves, into things more like mediumship. using all of your intuitive intelligence, psychic, mediumistic, empathic ability. Okay. It's an amazing, amazing class. So check out Christina Del Rey's The Art of Tarot. You are also learning for that one at your own pace, video downloads. Then also Christina Del Rey has the Big 3 Astrology Basics course is now up again, Ivy League Psychic Academy.com for that. The Big 3 are what your sun, your moon, your rising sign, how you need to understand those 3 for yourself, for someone you're taking a peek at maybe in love life, someone you have to work with, someone in your family, looking at your kids, whatever it is. We really need to know the basic 3. Okay, the Big 3 to have an understanding on how somebody is, who they really are, how they're portraying themselves to the world, how you portray yourself to the world, why people respond to you the way that they do. It's so important to understand these. And it's really a basic class for all of her upcoming astrology classes. You're going to need this before you get the other ones. That is also video download. So check it out. Astrology Basics, the Big 3 with Christina Del Rey up on the website. Just want to let you guys know also, okay, I have opened up my October calendar. So that was completely shut out. I wasn't taking any bookings for this month. But if you need to book, that calendar is now open. So you can go onto the website to do that also. All right, looks like we have a few people tuned in. So I want to go ahead and get started here. All right. All right, so welcome everyone. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Arawak. This is Roots Revival Interfaith, where we believe in the 3 truths in the universe. That's numerology, astrology, and intuitive intelligence to keep you on your path in life, to help you to heal, and ultimately to prepare you to go out and heal others around you. I am here with Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer. How are you, Christina?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm good. This is an exciting sermon tonight. I'm looking forward to this. We are talking about dating, how to date with an alignment of your life contract. And so we're going to get into this in a minute. I do want to explain, if you want to book a reading or an event with me, this is up on the screen here on YouTube. So some people can see that, others cannot. It's also in the description above or below, depending on where you're tuning in tonight. So you can go to IvyRiveraPsychicMedium.com. If you want to book a chart, a reading with Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer, you're going to email her, and she's got this up on the screen here, cpierski88@gmail.com. All right. I do want to invite everybody to please start posting your prayer and healing requests. We do get to those throughout the week. If everybody could also give this video a thumbs up and subscribe wherever you are and drop a comment, it helps boost us in the algorithm. Donations are always appreciated here. And we are an interactive church. So we're going to be discussing this sermon topic today, dating, how to do it in alignment within your life contract. And then at the end, we're going to be taking your questions and your comments. So go ahead and start posting those as well. All right. So on this topic, let's go ahead and get into it. What I felt pressed to talk about in this particular sermon are the 3 different valuable relationship contracts that we have with people we're meant to date or get romantically involved with, and how the universe, our higher mind, our ancestors, our guides supports those particular types of relationships, but not all relationships. And what I find, whether it be with myself, my friends, my clients, my students, what I find is that we all have a tendency to want to step out of line and dabble in relationships we have no business dabbling in. We sometimes get restless. I'll keep this G-rated today. for whatever reasons you're restless. Okay. Maybe you're codependent. Maybe you're needy. Maybe it's a sexual thing, or, maybe it's your astrology at the time that can create restlessness. Maybe, you're going through some stress and it's a coping mechanism for you, to date or to be sexually active or whatever, and so often there are triggers in life, a million of them, that can cause for us to almost hyper date, and we're not supposed to be at that time. And it can lead to a lot of problems, wasted time, and complications with others, where we are finding a lack of value in these relationships, and we don't always understand why. So we want to make sure that we are dating and engaging with others when we're meant to, and to the degree that we're meant to. And that is based on each individual contract. So I want to break down the 3 different types of contracts here that are absolutely supported by the universe. And remember that when they're not, and we talk about this here a lot at Roots Revival, when something is not supported by the universe, you are going to feel as though you're having to hustle the entire time. It's like pulling teeth. You can't understand why nothing works. It's like you're beating your head up against a wall over and over and over again. And it's just like it's permanently broken because you have no business dealing in that. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about it. The 3 different categories of relationships that have contracts and are supported by the universe. Karmic. You have a karmic contract with somebody. Okay. Soulmate contract with someone, and soul tribe. So let's break these down one at a time. Karmic contract is unfortunately not going to feel as good the majority of the time as something more like a soulmate contract will, or soul tribe contract. Karmic contracts can be very beneficial for both people if both people involved are willing to fulfill the contract. And the contract in this case involves a lot of work, a lot of lessons, a lot of growth, a lot of discomfort. It's sort of like a growth spurt. And every time I hear karmic contract, I think of being like 9, 10, 11 years old, when I was going through growth spurts and my bones would hurt. My bones would ache, or it would be like, this incessant pain deep inside in like your bone marrow that you can't kind of get to. You just have to wait it out. You just have to go through the process. There's nothing that could remedy that type of pain. And I think that when we are reborn and choose to get involved with these same people, it is often over and over and over again, from past life to this current life, and possibly even future lives, if we can't fulfill what we're supposed to. So I think that while karmic contracts can be very dynamic and passionate and curious, almost haunting, they're there in your dreams. That person is there even if the relationship doesn't work out, and it rarely does. Their name is always coming up. There's always some reference around you, even symbolically in the universe, to that person. It can also feel like obsession. It can feel very much like a trauma bond, and they often are involving trauma bonds. It could be addictive, where you feel you cannot break up from the other person, or even if you're okay with it, maybe they're not and they're stalking you. These are all signs that you have a cord with this person. And I have a class up on the website called Relationships, Boundaries, and Cord Cutting. There's another class that goes hand in hand with that called Karma Contracts and Past Lives. It's important to know that when we have a cord connection with someone else, it's due to the contract, whether it be soulmate or a karmic contract. And the cords are going to feel identical. The bond that you feel with this person, the addiction, the exchange of energy from you to them and them to you, voluntarily, involuntarily, telepathically, emotionally, spiritually. It's there at all times because of those cords. And when it becomes toxic and unhealthy and things are not being resolved, karma cannot play out in the way that it's meant to. We may have to cut those cords. So karmic contracts, I always say, often involve, debt from one person to the other. It can be both ways, of course. But often when someone owes you a debt, they don't want to repay it. That's why you're back at square one with this person. And so we need to be mindful that if there's ever a sense of someone owing you something, or but refusing to give you an inch, refusing to give you any of their love, affection, time, attention, it could very well be this type of debt. We can also feel, even though we're extremely comfortable with this person and they're really familiar to us, we could have a real off-putting kind of energy coming from them. We could feel a resistance. Like, I don't care how attracted you are to me, or I don't care how attracted I may feel to you in some ways. I do not want to get involved with this. So karma never lies. Energy never lies. There's a lot of history there between you and this other person. And we need to remember ultimately that if we are getting involved in this type of a relationship, it does make us more susceptible to people who are going to use things like narcissistic abuse against us. And we may feel as though we have no choice but to stay in the relationship because I feel I'm supposed to, because I keep being led back to this person, because it feels unfinished. I'm aware of that, but that doesn't mean you're supposed to stay. That's just how it feels. That's because of the cord. Okay. So again, you can always cut the cord if it has become toxic, but you have to take responsibility for that. The most important thing to remember with a karmic contract is that I don't care how attracted you are to this person. This is about lessons. Ultimately, it's about growth and it's about healing. And that can be a long, dirty journey. So expect it. Let's talk about soulmate contracts. These are probably my favorite. Same amount of dynamic energy times 10 sometimes as the karmic contract. So when you meet a soulmate, you're going to feel extremely familiar. Like you know this person, you've known them forever, like you picked up where you left off. You would have in astrology, right, Christina, we say a south node connection, which can be proven with a good astrologer. Christina has shown me several times, right?
Yeah, and there's other indicators too, but yeah.
Yep. And possibly north node connection, right? Which means that in the future you have work to do together, and in this life, in your future, in this life also, you've work to do together. Soulmate contract is a work contract, but when it is also romantic, I think it allows for tremendous possibility in the way that the two of you can come together like a team. You can build extraordinarily. You can create almost really without boundaries, this very interesting, intriguing life together. And I think that if both people are willing to work at that, then it's going to be extraordinary. I think that often, though, what we see in soulmate contracts, especially when they're romantic, is that one or both people haven't done the work that they were supposed to in the past. And so when the timing comes up for the two people to meet, it's not a fit because somebody lagged in their growth and development. Now, we like to say, well, there's just bad timing. It was bad timing in our relationship. There's no such thing as bad timing. The universe has perfect timing. It's us that tends to fail. And then when we want all kinds of benefits later on down the road, we can't have them. So it's very possible that you have actually met soulmates and it felt powerful and dynamic, and the chords were there, and the sort of addiction to each other was there, and they were there in your dreams, but it just would not work out because one or both people did not do what was required in order to make it work. Okay, so that's another one that is supported by the universe, soulmate contracts. Let's talk about soul tribe members. This is a little less dynamic, but I would say no less important, because there isn't any part of our growth and development that doesn't matter. It's all one level at a time, and it's progressive. So members of your soul tribe that happen to be romantic will definitely be supported also by the universe, your higher mind, your ancestors, your guides, your angels. And some of the stuff you would notice right away with this person is synchronicity. Coming from every angle, they would notice it, you would notice it. When the two of you are together or you're talking, the world sort of starts interacting. The universe is sending more symbology and messages. You would hear more from your loved ones on the other side, and your ancestors. Your psychic ability, your intuition may kick in a lot more frequently. You guys realize that it's kind of like butter. When you guys are talking, the conversation is so synchronistic in the way that it leads to one person's awareness and the other one's healing, and one person's project and the other one's helpfulness. And it all just sort of is like a big spider web. It all, interacts and assists simultaneously. And there's a fluidity there. There's an ease, and it does not necessarily mean that the romantic part of the relationship is going to last very long. I find that these don't, but we are to value them nonetheless, because they are really dynamic. And this could end up being the type of relationship, dating experience that is a friendship at the foundation. There may be like a friend with benefits or something that you have for like 10, 20 years. It just sort of can come in and go and, be of value. We can't try to force these to be more than what they are, as is the case with any type of relationship, or we tend to make it sour very quickly. But these are the three different types that we find are going to enter into our lives when we're ready. Okay. Karmic, because you're ready for the healing and the awareness. Soulmate, because you're ready for the building and often the healing. And soul tribe, because you are ready to do the work, come together, make things happen. And when we are outside of these three different types of relationships, then we are going to be outside of divine timing. And that is another element that can cause for us to feel like we're wasting our time. We're frustrated. What's wrong with these people I'm dating? Why didn't this relationship work out? What a waste. A lot of aggravation and anger building. This is where I think a lot of people get very bitter. You were basically dealing with someone who was wrong for you in the first place. You were dealing with someone in the wrong timing, okay, the entire time. And until it's completely cleared out, you can't sort of get back on track. So what do you do in the meantime? What do you do while you wait for one of these three categories? Okay, the right type of relationship. What do you do if you can't date? Find something else to do with your time. This is not a sport. You're not supposed to make a career out of dating or other people. They're not extensions of you. You are not meant to be in a relationship at all times. Find something else to do. Work on your career, work on your hobbies, your interests. Give and donate your time and attention and, skills and resources to the world around you that is desperately in need. Okay, all the time. Find something else to do. But don't rule out that you can't, don't rule out that, you can be involved with other people. You just can't try to force it to be more than what it is. And I think that's where a lot of people want that black and white. They, it's the end all be all. If I'm going to get involved in a relationship, it had better be the one. We had better be like, I don't know, headed to the altar or something, And I think that you can get involved with other people as long as you're realistic about what it's meant to be. I would highly recommend, though, that you don't, unless it is fitting into one of these three categories, okay? Because that's how you can just guarantee that it's going to be of some type of value to you. All right, so I want to move on, Christina. We're going to have Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer, speak on this topic next. For those of you tuning in late, please post your questions and comments. We're going to be getting to them here in a little bit. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and donations are appreciated. If you have not already done so, please post your prayer and healing requests as well. Christina.
Okay, pardon me because I am still sick, but I'm going to try not to cough too much. In astrology, we often look to Venus in the natal chart as, you know, an indicator of relationships. Okay, so Venus is relationships, it's love, and we tend to look for the sign in the house, and the house placement of Venus could even tell you like where you might meet somebody, you know, the kind of person you're looking for. We actually just had, actually today, I think officially, but you probably felt it more yesterday. We just had a full moon in Aries, and it was, and we had Venus across from it. So people may have had some relationship issues coming up because of Venus and Libra. So there might have been some kind of high point, emotional high point yesterday or today, just kind of bringing that into light. But for the most part, like, you know, you have to look and see what Venus touches. For instance, if Venus touches Saturn, love might be withheld from you, or you might have a hard time expressing yourself in love. People might try to, you know, dominate you in love, you know, kind of the boss of you. So you really have to kind of look at what Venus is doing. And that, you know, and that would go with, you know, all your romantic relationships. And then when we talk about the different types of contracts too, you know, it could be a person, you know, if you're looking at Venus, you know, you could get into a relationship with somebody who is a karmic contract. You know, that doesn't mean, you know, again, you're not together forever. It is more like you have work to do. So for instance, if you marry somebody that you have a karmic contract with and you have children with them, it doesn't mean that you have to be with them forever, but obviously you were, you know, supposed to have children together. And then, you know, that's like your karma's intertwined there. So even though, and, you know, if you don't stay together, that usually means, you know, the karmic contract was fulfilled. Problem is, as humans, we tend to drag it out because society tells us we're supposed to be together forever. We're supposed to be the one. And if you think about that, one person to meet all your needs forever, kind of ridiculous. So it is not realistic. We definitely need a more realistic view of relationships in America. But anyway, so as
that's another topic.
It's a whole other topic. So as far as like soulmate and soul tribe, so Saturn is the planet of karma. So when Saturn is involved in any of those karmic contracts, so like say if my Saturn is touching one of Ivy's planets, then, you know, we might have a long commitment together because Saturn is commitment. And if we have, you know, if you have Saturn touching someone else's personal planets and you're getting romantically involved, then you're talking about, you know, kind of like sticking it out. Not, you know, not necessarily hitting the road every time something bad happens, you know, or like, you know, it doesn't mean that you're going to stick it out forever, but it does mean that you're going to stay and kind of transmute whatever karmic stuff that you have and build something together, if that makes sense. So Saturn is definitely the builder. So when you're looking at two charts together, you would look for Saturn, and Saturn can start out slow, but it can build, and it can be like the glue that holds relationships together. And, you know, you're also transmuting karma from another life, most likely. But you know, like and there's a high vibration and a low vibration at all times. So Saturn can be bossy too. So, you know, if my Saturn's touching Ivy's moon, I could just like boss her around or something, you know what I mean? So it really depends on the person's vibration, you know, how much they understand their chart. Okay, I know I have the Saturn touching her moon. Okay, I'm going to be cognizant of bossing her around. You know what I mean? Like, so then like you can kind of transmute that into something more positive. One of the biggest planets for a soulmate contract too, I think would be Pluto. So because Pluto is really depth. When somebody's Pluto touches one of your personal planets or vice versa, we're talking about passion. We're talking about deep intimacy, digging deep. We're talking about like, you know, just very deep, important lessons. However, like we said, that has a high vibration and a low vibration. Low vibration can be obsession. It can be controlling. It can be you know, like it could be violence, you know, so you have to really be careful with that. Again, it comes down to the person's vibration and how much they understand about themselves. But when you have contacts like that, those are, you know, and that's not even to mention the North Node, but in the South Node, but those planets I usually look to see if there is more going on than meets the eye. And, you know, a lot of times you can feel that in a soulmate relationship. You know, a soulmate relationship will often feel just different. Like you're like, something here is just a little bit different. We connect on a different level, that type of thing. And it doesn't mean that it's supposed to last either. It just means that you were supposed to learn lessons together and that you are supposed to, you know, accomplish something, transmute the karma. Another one too you look to is Neptune. So Neptune high vibration, very spiritual, fantasy. Low vibration would be like unrealistic, can't see clearly, you know, can't see the person for who they are. So I actually have Neptune in my 5th house, and 5th house is romance. So, you know, I don't get the whole picture when I look, you know, I kind of have my little rosy glasses on and see what I want to see. So I have to kind of rely to other people to look to, you know, kind of listen. What do you think of this? You know what I mean? And kind of like, not that I have to follow their advice, but it's good to get that other point of view when Neptune is involved. And Neptune in the chart too, like wherever it is, sometimes can indicate losses or disappointments. So disappointments in love, that's me. So yeah. And all these things though.
See how many raise the hands we get in the comment section.
So, you know, and then, you know, things, you know, I think that people also too, though, like people go through things because, you know, you and your romantic partner will go through transits that are happening in the sky. And sometimes those are like, you know, harmonious. And then sometimes those tear you apart too. So while people think, oh, that person changed, or yeah, maybe they did change, you know, maybe they did go to the low vibration of whatever they were going through. But at that point, that's like the split where like, you know, it might not work anymore. So you may have to go your separate ways because you have separate lessons to learn in this life. And if you have the separate lessons and you're trying to stay together, even though you have the separate lessons, then that's not going to work out real well. And, you know, and it's just going to make it more toxic until something explodes. So learn that one the hard way as well, guys.
I think that's the hardest one.
It is.
You know, I think that's the hardest one, and not to derail, but when, you know, somebody says to you, what happened? I thought you guys were great. What happened in your relationship? So what happens in a lot of relationships that we never want to admit?
Yes. And I think
that is that there was a great time.
Yes. And I think that It's sad that good time gets lost in the
It is sad.
toxicity. Yeah, like
But we can still appreciate it for what it was, and we don't have to make it 100 times worse
right
by holding on and trying to say that it's something that it isn't.
You hope that both people are mature enough and, are most likely not, because one person will be of higher vibration than the other. And when the vibrations don't match, then, you get that toxicity. So that's why things end most of the time badly. It is what it is. But anyway, so what else did I say here? Let's see. A lot of people will choose a partner based on logical sense and not, their gut. And, like when you meet somebody and you click with them, but they don't necessarily look or fit into the mold that society expects you to have, like, oh, well, I have to have a guy who has this and this and this, and oh, he won't do otherwise. And, it's like, I mean, and then you're like, well, this guy over here, he has a great job and he can provide for me and blah, blah, blah. Well, that might look really good on paper. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, when you make decisions by common sense only, they usually don't work out. So it has to kind of be a combination of common sense and what your gut is telling you. So if you go against that contract, things are going to be difficult, like you're going to be like, I don't understand. Why does this relationship feel so hard? Nothing ever works out. This is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like you're just going against what is right. If you go against it, it leads to unfulfillment, regrets, and you have to reincarnate to do all that stuff. And it's funny that you mentioned sometimes you meet a soulmate and then the timing is wrong, because I think that has happened to me, and I think I'm lucky to get another. But if it's not right, it could be something that you miss out on, for sure. If you're tied up in your common sense relationship because you don't want to let go, and then your soulmate could pass you by. So that's real. And we have to look at relationships as not to be comfortable. We have to look at relationships as time to grow, and growth can be uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be every single day, but if you're not growing together, then you're stagnant. And that's not helpful. So like we have to start looking at relationships as chances to grow. And when they're not growing, that's when we have to be concerned. Because if you're not growing, you're not transmuting karma, you're not building anything, you know what I mean? You're stagnant. And at that point, you either have to fix it or move on. And sometimes like they say that people are there for a season or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe the season is over and it's time to move past it, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And and people often run from, facing that breakup because it's so hard. But at the end of the day, it's a purge and you're better for it. And if you don't change, it'll be forced and often very catastrophic. But love, relationships, contracts, it's the same as your life purpose contract. It all fits together. If you are on your life purpose, but you are not on your relationship purpose, then those two things are gonna collide, because you have to follow the whole chart. You have to follow the whole contract. You can't pick pieces of it. I tried that. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So you have to, everything has to mesh or you're not doing it right. So, and spirit's going to kick you out. You're going to get kickback from that. Yeah, and then you're out of alignment and you got to almost start from scratch. You're like wasting time. I think that that's my biggest regret, is wasting time. You don't realize it when you're younger, but I mean, hopefully the people listening understand. And you know, if your values, morals, interests don't line up anymore, that's a key, you know, indicator that the karmic contract has ended, and that you know, you need to go your separate ways. But yeah, it all works together. I guess those are my final words.
Okay, love it. I just want to play off what you were saying about not being able to cherry pick. We can't go out there and say, well, I'm going to try to be within alignment of my life contract in work, but not love, and expect life to work out, you know, or just decide that we're going to try to force a relationship and build up a world of prosperity around it to keep this fragile thing, you know, standing. It's like Jenga. You know, you just keep pulling out, pulling out, pulling out. You're just waiting for this thing to tumble. It's like at the center of all prosperity really is relationship. And we have to look at our relationships in general, not even just romantic, but in general. And when we notice that there's a lot of, whether it's illness or, you know, energetic drains, or we feel that our spirituality is taking a hard hit, you know, mental discord, prosperity dipping, blocks and obstacles, we should examine our relationships before we look at anything else, because it really does affect things so much more than what we believe it does. And that's because when you're in a bond with someone else and you're lying 24/7 to keep it going, you know, in whatever capacity it is that you're telling an untruth, that's going to affect everything.
I think too, in astrology, we can kind of see in the solar return chart if it's going to be like a relationship focused year for you. It was for me this year. Like both my sun and moon are both in the 7th house. You know, so it puts a focus on relationships. So like kind of like what you were saying about some years you're not meant to be in a relationship. So you know what I mean? Like, so that's not where your energy is supposed to focus, you know? And there really is something to say about making sure everything in your life is aligning with your you know, your intuition, because life is like, I mean, you know, life's never going to be perfect, but it's just going to feel better. The whole thing's going to feel better.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, when we are trying to force, and for many of you, you may feel like it's dating. For many of you, you may feel like it's sex. Like you just can't sort of get over that hump with anybody. Like nobody's good enough, or what, you know, whatever the case is. It may be that you need to look at your life contract. You know, book a reading with me, book an astrology chart with Christina. Take a look and see if this is maybe a year where you're supposed to be focused on career, you know, or your education, or like movement. Maybe you're supposed to be relocating and there, you know, or like healing in some capacity, some other kind of karma. I mean, there are a million things that go on in life, and an intimate partnership in any capacity, you know, doesn't necessarily fit during that time. 100%. There are other things going on. Okay. So we want to get on to questions and comments. Let's go ahead and pop them up. Just a reminder for those of you tuning in late, please give this video a thumbs up. Donations are appreciated. Post your prayer and healing requests now, and we're going to take your questions and comments. So feel free. Also share your stories in the comment feed. Okay, so we can all find some like-mindedness here. All right, what do we have? We have from Christy Punk. Does your life contract ever alter with your free will choices? No. So the life contract that you signed on to before you came to Earth, these are all the agreements you made. Your higher mind made these agreements. And the contracts therein for relationships, it's set. Your free will comes into play only when you decide how you're going to respond to those events, those relationships occurring. They are destiny charted. So when you go and you have like an astrology chart with Christina, for example, this is one of the reasons I think Christina and I have been such good friends over the years, because we have an understanding about the way the universe works. And that is that, yes, there is destiny charted. 100% there is, but there's also free will. It isn't one or the other. And when you understand that, you see every relationship, every day, every situation, every trauma as an opportunity to pick a high vibration over a low vibration and to alchemize. And so you're not going to alter the life contract or the astrology chart, but you will be using your free will every single step along the way to maximize the benefits of what you signed on to do.
Yeah, because I like chart doesn't change. You can like your personality will evolve from your experiences, but your contract stays the same. So it's just your free will is going to be how you learn those lessons. It's not what lessons, it's just how you're going to learn them, and quickly.
Quickly, hopefully. Yep. All right, we have another one. I know I saw a couple more earlier too. Okay, from Metagirl on TikTok. She says, what do you think about a relationship of the same signs? Like, for example, two Aquarius suns.
I think any two sun signs can be together. You have to really look at the whole chart to know. But yeah, I mean, there's Aquarius is supposed to be compatible with Aquarius, but I mean, it helps if the suns are in harmony. But it's not an end all be all. There's plenty of, relationships out there where the suns are not in harmony, but they have another connection somewhere where, that kind of trumps it. So it depends on the whole chart, and it depends on the person's vibration too, because chart is potential. So, you can't exactly date potential. You have to where is this person in life? Okay, is this going to work?
That's so true. Even with sign compatibility, there's a high vibration and a low vibration. And if they're choosing low and you're choosing high, it's not going to, it's not going to work anyways. But
if you have, one Aquarius is very humanitarian and the other one is just very detached, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to mesh unless they're on the same vibration.
Yeah. And I would just say on that note, I'm always careful before I get really committed with anybody. When we reach that point in dating where I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of committing to this, I go to Christina and I get that synergy chart, because I need to look at the moon, right? The moon is your romance. The Mars, that's how you have sex. That's how you're going to connect with this person. There are more important things than just that sun sign, for sure. And I always like to go to her too, because if I don't know the blocks, I don't want to just hear about the trines and the lovely stuff and what's going to work, because it's already going to work. I want to know about the difficult points so that I can get prepared to work with this person if I'm going to put in all this effort. And yeah, it helps a lot to know.
Yes, it gives you more pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we have another question coming in here from Stephanie Mitchell. How do you heal from leaving that type of relationship, meaning the karmic relationships that don't work out? How do you heal? I personally have learned to get faster in the beginning at identifying them, so I could put my armor on and I can get ready, get my helmet ready, and like prepare for this thing. I know that with those, I have to be very, very realistic, that no matter how it feels, no matter how dynamic and passionate it may be, no matter, how much I may want to stay, that's irrelevant. This is karmic. This is going to be a really challenging situation. And I am prepared also to understand that this type of bond with someone is a trigger for so many other things. I pay close attention to the person's mental state. Have they ever gone to therapy? If they dealt with their past trauma, are they always blaming outside circumstances? Are they acting like a grown up? Or is that, because the less they do that, I know the faster this thing is going to deteriorate. And then after any kind of breakup, but yes, those karmic ones are particularly, difficult. I just treat it like I do everything else in my life. It's off like a Band-Aid. I don't ask a bunch of questions about whether or not my feelings, should be taken into consideration. I know my feelings and my emotions should not be taken into consideration because this is a toxic situation, or the lessons are over, or the contract is up, and that means I need to move on. So I stay very logical. I set boundaries, and I do not allow myself to digress because it just makes it worse.
I'm a feeler, so I definitely have to feel my way through. So it's a hard couple of weeks, you know what I mean? And healing's not linear. It comes in spurts, like things will trigger and bring up stuff that's stuck. And then you have to kind of look at that and say, okay, why is this triggering me? And then kind of deal with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely not, it doesn't happen overnight. And you can see deep healing in the chart too. It's like some of the transits when a healing time is coming, we can kind of see that. Everything kind of has its own timing, I think. Yeah.
I love that. And it helps so much to, again, know the astrology, and your life contract, and know what's coming up, because I'm not saying they're distractions, exactly, but sometimes that is something you need, is a nice distraction. And then other times, yeah, I can count on this, or this phase is going to end soon. What are the deadlines on different planetary movements? Because things can get easier at that point. Yeah.
And practicing detachment, which is really hard, but it's a Buddhist practice, and it's so wise, and there's so much wisdom to it, But I found when I'm having a Uranus transit, though, which I'm undergoing right now, that I am much more detached. So people with a lot of Uranus in their chart, maybe they're able to detach a little bit better. Some of us have a harder time.
I love that. And that's something you can practice anytime with a million different things, So build up your skills. Don't wait until you're deep in it, and then have to learn on the job. All right. We have another question coming in here from Mary Ann Gullo. Does aging diminish the opportunities for romantic soulmates? No, it does not. And I put out a couple videos a while back on my TikTok about different things that you can expect in your life contract, in your numerology chart, in your astrological chart, that actually increase your, whether it be prosperity or romantic connections as you age. So I'm not saying it technically increases, but I would say that for most people, you may see some of that. And I think that it's pretty well balanced. Now, the issue can often be, or has been at least in the past, that people overcommit. They get into that government contract, or it's till death do us part, the church, the patriarchy, the family, right? They've taught our cultures. They've told us we are in it till death. Good luck then when your other soulmates show up and here you're stuck in this dead thing, so that's usually the problem. And I think it's set a tone, and it's made us believe, and the younger generations are figuring it out really quick, that this isn't the way to live. But it has set a tone like, as we get older, love diminishes, and it does not. We have mostly just chosen in the past this incorrect path of over attachment, and legal contract, or, other types of contracts that are earthly. and they limit your ability to invest in other soulmates. So you will have, I like to say, typically when I look at someone's life contract, I see about 5 to 6 different soulmate connections, and they're not all happening in your 20s for sure. It's spread out pretty nicely. I've even seen them up into the 70s. I've worked with clients. I have seen them in like old folks' homes meeting a soulmate 100%. It happens. So yeah, stay open.
I love that. That's very hopeful. Yeah, I definitely don't think that it diminishes, but I do think if you're with the same person for, 40, 50 years, are you going to feel, most likely you're not going to feel romantically inclined anymore, because eventually relationships turn into friendships. And if you don't like each other, which happens a lot, if your Mercuries aren't compatible, or, then that's when I think love diminishes. You know what I mean? But I don't think it necessarily has to do with age. I think it's like more of a societal standard. But there's some really happy people who are older and in love, and it's nice.
Yeah, and I think we're looking, especially here in America, more at, getting rid of the marital contracts that are till death do us part, and we're looking at 3-year contracts of potential renewal. I think Maine's looking at it right now. You got a 3-year contract, a 7-year contract, and you could say, I want to sign on to this again. Or we have a lot of open relationships going on, or ethical non-monogamy. I think that people are realizing, as other members of my soul tribe, other soulmates show up, I don't want to be excessively committed to somebody else when I'm supposed to explore something else. But that takes a lot of us out of our comfort zone, so be open. Interesting times. We have another question coming in here from a Mary on TikTok. Do all karmic soulmates have to be romantic? So that's really 2 different things. So we're talking about karmic contracts, and then we're talking about soulmate contracts. Soulmate contracts are work contracts that sometimes have a romantic connection back to that person. Karmic contracts sometimes have that romantic dynamic to them, but no, not all soulmates are romantic. Not all karmic contracts are romantic. Christina, you find the same thing?
Yeah, like I feel like my daughter's my soulmate. Like you just know that there was like a past life there or something, you know what I mean? It's just deeper.
Yeah, and I've had some freaky situations where I have met some people, I'm like, whoa, this is karmic. I mean, this is a big deal. And it's not going to be romantic ever in any capacity. That's clear from the beginning, but they feel it too. And they kind of come at me. They kind of just watch a little too much. They're just a little too up in my business. And I'm like, there it is. That's how I know, right? It happens a lot with coworkers. Be mindful, or, somebody who's sort of obsessed with you back when you were in high school or something like that. And that'll repeat through life. I mean, it's like they never go away. Never. Okay, we have another one coming in here from another question or comment from Toby on TikTok. How will the universe end a contract for you if you don't know when it's up? If you don't know when your contract is up, how will the universe end it? It's just like a contract. It's sort of like if you had signed on to pay a bill for your phone, and you know what I mean? And the contract was up, you just no longer have phone service. It's just over. They're no longer taking the money out of your bank account. It isn't being supported by the universe anymore. That is that sort of dead static, that dead energy. This is why we were saying, don't try to revive it. Don't try to make it out to be something more than what it is. When it's over, it's over. I hope that answers it.
It doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't feel the same. It's not working. Yeah, it's not working. It doesn't feel the same. And if you're insistent upon it, you might have something like shake you up to the point where you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like you have no choice but to end it. So
I've noticed too, I've sometimes looked at the person, I'm like, almost like I'm seeing them for the first time, because now the contract is up. and I see that they don't look the same. I'm not attracted in any capacity. I can't remember what was happening, almost like what was happening before that. It is like night and day, you know, and I think if you use it to your advantage, it's easier to detach. It's like, I feel nothing now. I don't even know who you are anymore. You know, it's interesting. So yeah, lots of signs that it's over. We have another one coming in here from Melanie on TikTok. I dream a lot about the person I'm romantically with. Does this mean anything? I think it does. I think that when, you know, if you're an empath, I talk about this in my empathic awareness class up on the website. If you're an empath and you sleep with anyone, I don't care if it's your dog, your cat, your husband, whatever, you're going to dream that person's dreams. You're going to mesh and melt into that other person. And that's why I always say you need your own sleep space. But, you know, I do find that with soulmates, often karmic contracts, and definitely members of our soul tribe, which is a lot of fun. We'll dream about these people years before they show up. And then throughout the time that we're together, you may astral travel together. You may, you know, share a lot of dreams. And yeah, and for years after. Oop, Christina, you're frozen. Did we lose Christina on audio? Oh, there she is. Okay. Did you have anything to add to this?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last minute. I think it means like I think it maybe is like, you know, transmuting karma together in dreams. It could be past life related. It's almost like you're in two different worlds at the same time when somebody's in your dreams all the time. So I think it's very, I don't know. I think it's important. You must have work to do on the other side.
Such a great topic. We could go on and on and on and on and on and on. Now, Christina and I have a couple classes on this topic in other variations. So go on to the YouTube channel here at Ask Ivy. Go up in the playlist under mini classes and check out some of the other stuff Christina and I have done on this topic. And also go into Roots Revival. You can listen to our old sermons where we've talked more in depth about relationships. Wherever you can download a podcast, and again here on YouTube. And Christina, what is your YouTube channel? She's freezing up on me again.
Astrology and Tarot Simplified.
Astrology and Tarot Simplified, okay, is Christina's channel also. So just want to encourage everyone, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and post your prayer and healing requests. Christina and I will be praying over them. And we do also pray over them afterward. Okay, so if you post later, we will see you guys back here in a few weeks for more Roots Revival Interfaith, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, everywhere that you tuned in here tonight. And if you need to book a chart with Christina, you can do that through her email. There it is up on the screen. And if you need to book a reading or a life contract with me, you can go to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you so much, Christina and Maraid, our beautiful producer. Everybody have a great week.